There's a reason love feels like both the safest place in the world and the most terrifying one. The same arms that promise comfort can awaken the deepest fear of being seen, truly seen. You've probably felt it, that trembling closeness when someone gets too near, when their kindness touches something inside you that's still bleeding. You want to stay. You want to run. That's not weakness. That's your soul remembering something. Carl Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But he didn't tell us how painful that transformation can be. When we meet someone who mirrors our hidden self, it's not just attraction, it's recognition. The kind that shakes the walls we've spent years building to keep ourselves safe. You might think you're falling in love with them, but often you're falling into yourself, into the parts of you that you've avoided, the shadows that whisper, "You're too much," or "You're not enough." And suddenly, their eyes seem to see those places without asking for permission. You start to wonder if they'll still stay when they see everything. That's the secret fear beneath most love stories, not losing the other, but being revealed and left anyway. This is what Jung called the confrontation with the unconscious, not in theory, but in the trembling heartbeat of real connection. The person you love is the mirror that reflects what you've hidden, and sometimes what you've forgotten how to love inside yourself. If you've ever felt the pull between wanting love and fearing it, if you've ever sabotaged something beautiful because you couldn't believe you deserved it, this journey is for you. Because hidden inside that fear is the exact doorway to the love you've been searching for, not just with someone else, but within yourself. Take a breath, stay here. Let's go deeper together. And if this message already feels like it's speaking to you, maybe that's your sign to stay with this channel, to subscribe, to listen, to keep coming back to these quiet spaces where healing happens not through advice, but through understanding. Love begins as a whisper in the dark. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or certainty. It moves quietly, softly brushing against the edges of your loneliness. At first, it feels like light. Someone sees you. They notice the way your eyes drift when you're lost in thought, the tremor in your voice when you try to sound strong. They care. They really care. And something deep inside of you, something that has waited for years, begins to stir. But then, almost without warning, fear follows. Because the moment someone starts to matter, the ghosts wake up. The old memories rise like dust, the betrayal you swore you'd moved past. The rejection that taught you love always comes with a cost. You want to let them in, but your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. You begin to pull back, not because you don't want love, but because you've learned it can hurt. This is what Jung called the shadow's dance. The moment when love stops being about the other person and starts revealing the truth about yourself. You start to realize how deeply your patterns run. Maybe you overgive, trying to earn affection that should never have needed earning. Maybe you shrink, hoping to avoid the conflict that once tore you apart. Or maybe you chase the unavailable, mistaking longing for love because absence feels familiar. It's not random. It's your unconscious choosing what feels like home, even if that home once hurt you. And yet, in that chaos, there's something sacred. Jung believed that love is not a fairy tale, but a confrontation and alchemy of two souls daring to meet in truth. Each relationship, whether it lasts or not, is a mirror reflecting the state of your own inner world. You think you're seeking a partner, but in reality, you're seeking yourself through them. You're trying to remember the wholeness you lost when you learned love could leave. So you fall for people who awaken your old wounds, not to punish you, but to show you where you're still bleeding. Every heartbreak, every goodbye, is an invitation to heal another layer of yourself. And yet, we often miss the lesson because the pain feels unbearable. We want the comfort of connection without the exposure it demands. But real love, Jung would say, asks for nothing less than your entire soul. It asks you to stand naked emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and say, "This is me, even the parts I don't understand." That's why true connection feels terrifying. because it threatens everything false inside you. It's not love that scares you. It's the truth it forces you to face. Take a breath. Let that sink in. Maybe the fear isn't a sign you're with the wrong person. Maybe it's the signal that love is finally doing its real work. There comes a moment, subtle, almost invisible, when love turns into a mirror so clear it becomes unbearable to look at. You find yourself reacting to small things, a tone, a silence, a glance. You feel anger where there should be calm, distance where there should be warmth. You tell yourself they've changed, but sometimes they haven't. It's you who's meeting the unhealed parts of yourself through them. Jung believed that every person we're drawn to carries a piece of our own psyche, the part we've buried or denied. When you fall in love, you project that hidden self onto them. That's why, in the beginning, everything feels magical. They seem to complete you. But as time passes, that projection fades, and what's left is the truth. Two imperfect people facing each other, carrying their own wounds, their own fears, their own longing to be chosen despite it all. That's where the real work begins. When the fantasy dissolves, love asks a new question. Can you still stay? Not because it's easy or exciting, but because it's real. Jung would say this is where many relationships end, not because love disappears, but because the mirror becomes too honest. We don't want to see how we abandon ourselves, how we demand perfection, how we repeat the same patterns and call it fate. If you've ever loved someone who triggered you in ways you couldn't explain, it's not because they were wrong for you. It's because they were right for your evolution. They showed you what still hurts. They exposed the soft, raw places that you thought you'd buried deep enough to never feel again. That's why their absence aches, not just because they're gone, but because they took your reflection with them. You might even find yourself chasing them long after they've left, not realizing you're chasing the part of you they awakened. You don't miss them as much as you miss who you were when they saw you open, vulnerable, alive. But that version of you was never lost. They only helped you remember her. This is where the courage of love truly lives, in the choice to turn inward instead of outward, to meet yourself with the same tenderness you once gave to them. Jung taught that the soul longs for union, but not with another person, first with itself. Until you face your own shadow, every relationship will become a battlefield between your longing and your fear. So when you feel that familiar pull, the panic, the jealousy, the sudden coldness, pause. Don't ask, what's wrong with them? Ask, what part of me is being revealed right now? That's how you begin to transform love from a wound into a doorway. Because real love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about discovering the truth inside yourself that no longer needs perfection to feel safe. Say it's real. Jung would say this is where many people turn away, not from love itself, but from the mirror it holds up. Because real intimacy doesn't flatter your ego, it confronts it. It reveals how much of what you called love was actually fear, wearing a softer face. Maybe you've been there in that quiet panic when someone gets too close, and suddenly every defense rises. You start picking fights over nothing, or you retreat into silence, or you say, I need space, when what you really need is safety. Jung might whisper that it's not the other person you're protecting yourself from, it's the child within you who still trembles at the thought of being left. Love presses against that wound until you can no longer pretend it isn't there. That's why true connection feels like both healing and destruction. It's the death of your illusion and the birth of your truth. The love that awakens you will always, at first, feel like loss. Because to truly open your heart, something inside you must die the need to control, to be perfect, to be understood exactly as you wish. What takes its place is softer but stronger, the willingness to stay even when it hurts, to see the other not as your savior, but as your equal mirror. Jung once described this process as individuation, the soul's journey toward wholeness. But for you, it may simply feel like being broken open, over and over again. You love, you lose, you love again. Each time, the circle widens, and you recognize more of yourself in the faces that pass through your life. You begin to see that every love, no matter how short or painful, leaves behind a fragment of understanding, a whisper that says, "This too was part of your becoming." There's a quiet power in realizing that the pain of love isn't punishment, it's purification. The people who triggered your deepest wounds were also your teachers. They pulled truth from your depths in ways comfort never could. That doesn't mean you should stay where there is harm, but it does mean you can leave with grace, knowing nothing was wasted. So when you think of the one who broke you, maybe don't ask why it ended. Ask what it revealed. What did that connection demand you to face that you'd hidden for too long? What part of your heart learned to breathe again because of them? Love, as Jung hinted, is not about possession or permanence. It's about awakening. Every person who touches your life holds a key to a door within you. Some stay long enough to walk through it with you. Others only turn the lock and then move on. But either way, the door opens. And that is the quiet miracle that even through heartbreak, you keep finding your way home to yourself. See, staying now means facing yourself. When the butterflies are gone and the shadows rise, that's when love stops being a dream and starts becoming sacred work. Jung believed that the soul doesn't evolve through comfort, it evolves through the tension between what we want and what we fear. In love, that tension is everywhere. In the silence after a misunderstanding, in the longing for closeness that feels unsafe, in the ache of wanting to be known without being judged. We often think the right person will erase that tension, but they don't. The right person simply makes it worth staying through. They become a companion in your unraveling, someone who doesn't rescue you from your pain but holds space for you to meet it. That's why the truest relationships aren't built on constant happiness. They're built on awareness, on the courage to say, "I'm scared," and the grace to hear, "Me too." Jung taught that love is a kind of psychological rebirth, not emerging into another person, but an awakening of your deeper self through them. It's the sacred fire that burns away everything false so your essence can emerge. But to let that happen, you must be willing to surrender control. You must be willing to stop shaping yourself into who you think they want and start showing them who you really are, even if it means risking their love. And maybe that's the most terrifying truth of all. You can't truly be loved until you're willing to lose love for the sake of honesty. Most of us would rather perform. We'd rather wear the mask that keeps the peace, even if it suffocates us. But love that survives pretense is not love, it's illusion. Only when the masks fall can connection become real. So what if the moments that scare you most, the fights, the tears, the quiet distances, are not signs of failure, but signs of transformation? What if they're proof that the relationship is doing exactly what it's meant to do? Break down everything inside you that's built on fear. When you love with awareness, you stop trying to fix people and start listening to the lessons they bring. You begin to see how every person is a messenger from your unconscious, showing you what's still unloved within you. The one who ignores you teaches you about self-worth. The one who leaves reminds you that your heart still beats without them. The one who stays, they show you that love can exist without control. Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But in love, avoidance becomes impossible, because love, real love, drags everything hidden into the light. It makes you feel alive and exposed all at once. It makes you grow in ways you didn't choose. So maybe the next time love terrifies you, don't run. Stay, breathe, feel. That trembling you sense isn't danger, it's awakening. It's your soul remembering what it means to be alive in another's presence. And so, the secret Jung left between his words wasn't really about theory or intellect. It was about the courage to love with your eyes open. To understand that every connection, even the ones that break you, are not detours, but necessary passages toward becoming whole. Love, he believed, is the meeting place between your shadow and your light. The ones who stir you, challenge you, even devastate you, are the very ones helping you return to your true self. When you begin to see love through this lens, heartbreak no longer feels like failure. It feels like initiation. The tears that once marked the end become symbols of rebirth. Because love's purpose was never to make you comfortable, it was to make you conscious. Conscious of how you hide, how you chase, how you give yourself away in small pieces, hoping someone will see your worth. Conscious of how deeply you still crave to be chosen, and how that craving points you back toward the place where you stopped choosing yourself. Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And maybe that's what love has been trying to do all along, not to perfect you, not to fix you, but to reveal you. Every relationship, every longing, every loss has been carving you into authenticity, into someone capable of saying, I want to love, but I no longer want to disappear in it. Because love is not about becoming one. It's about becoming whole together, apart, or somewhere in between. It's the gentle knowing that when someone truly meets you, they're not filling your emptiness. They're awakening what's already there. So if you're listening to this and your heart feels heavy, if you're remembering the one who left, the one who couldn't stay, or the one you're still trying to let go of, know this: nothing real is ever lost. The love that once flowed through them now lives inside you. It has changed form, but not essence. You are not broken. You are becoming. Let that truth sink in. Let it soften the ache. Let it remind you that fear is not the opposite of love, it's the doorway to it. Every trembling moment, every doubt, every time your heart races as you let someone in, that's your soul learning trust again. Learning to believe that connection doesn't have to mean collapse. If this message found you at the right moment, stay close. Breathe with me. Let this be your quiet reminder that you are worthy of love that doesn't demand you to shrink, to prove, or to earn. You are already enough, even in your uncertainty, even in your healing. And if you want to keep walking this path of awareness, reflection, and quiet courage, stay with us. Subscribe, share this with someone whose heart needs it, or leave a thought below. Your voice might be the light someone else was waiting for. Until then, take care of your inner world, because that's where every love story, the real ones, begin and end.